Show. Welcome to the Bodkins Show. I am that dude as always, Bodkins. It is a great Sunday evening here, 8 o'clock Central Time Zone. Welcome everybody to the Bodkins Show. We thank you for coming along, joining us on your Sunday evening. I hope everybody had a great weekend. I had a pretty good one. Family came in town, mom, stepdad, sister all came to town. Did a lot of fun activities with the kids and my parents as well. So we are got a big show tonight. Andy from host of the NFL Outdated will be joining us shortly. He's doing some dad duties. Does plan to join us. We'll be getting in touch with him. He'll be coming on here just shortly. Told him to take his time. It's all good. I'll stall until the meantime. Some housekeeping things tonight. Once we wrap up with Mr. NFL Outdated, we will be giving our giveaway. We'll be announcing our giveaway. We generated all the names in a little name generator. We're going to spin the wheel. Unfortunately, I can't screen share, but I will spin it live here. And we'll announce our winner. I'll even take a picture if I need to. And I don't know, Frankie, is it just you? I don't know why you can't hear anything. So I'm unmuted, so I don't know. Might just be you. Kenny says he can hear. So we're audio's good, Frankie. That's all you. Appreciate it. Boys, I was just freaking out there for a second. But anyway, tonight, what I was talking about here is that we will be announcing our giveaway. I can't share screen, so I will be spinning, and then I will take a picture of the winner on my phone, show it to the camera at the end once we get done with Mr. NFL Outdated. If you haven't yet, make sure you check out me and the boys at Let's Talk Sports. If you're not a subscriber, head over there, subscribe right there. Dan Harris has got everybody covered on the Let's Talk Sports Network. I mean, that guy's got everything covered. I mean, you name it, he's got it. There was he just did a running podcast. That's right, like long running, cross country running. He's had several different podcasts of that. But I was on there yesterday in my daily Saturday time slot. Me and Tanner of the Sports Buffoons. We were on there. We did a little bit of NBA, talked Kyrie, KD. That situation continues to, be interesting. A lot of Baker Mayfield to the Panthers. Talked a little bit of that. So, that was yesterday's show. Make sure you also tune in to tomorrow night's show at the Sports Buffoons on their network. I'll be on there for Buffoon and Bodkins show that happens every Monday night, 7:30 Central Time. We got a lineup all for you guys. We're gonna be talking a little NHL hockey. I know that there's people out there that don't think I talk hockey, but I really don't, really. But we got Jim Behringer. He's going to be coming on that show tomorrow talking NHL draft. We're going to be talking also a little bit of the Baker Mayfield, Deshaun Watson situation. Also more Kyrie and KD in the Nets situation. I seen a thing today with the Nets that talked a little of like the Nets and the Lakers. And it was like LeBron James for KD and about 7 first-round picks. I was like, man, that is absolutely insane. So we got some comments here already coming in. Appreciate everybody joining us. We are waiting on for Mr. NFL Day Outdated. Tanner from the Sports Buffoon says we're learning some hockey this year. That's right. Tanner doesn't know a whole lot about hockey either. I think if you put our IQs together on hockey, it's probably -3. All right. And we got some. Hold on a second. We're going to get to these comments just real quick. This is going to be a damn good show. Bodkins and NFL Outdated, better than a few blondes walking around wearing nothing. I don't know about that, Frankie. I mean, just depends what those blondes look like. I mean, there's some pretty damn fine blondes out there. I married one myself. So, uh, yeah, just not as pretty, I'm sure. Yeah, exactly. I'm not nothing to look at. But anyway, enough of the girl talk. It's time right now. Legend of all podcasting, knows everything all NFL. Mr. NFL Outdated. Catch him right here on YouTube. Subscribe to his podcast. It's Andy. Too good to give me a last name, has no last name, but Andy, host of the NFL Outdated podcast, has joined us tonight. Right now, give it up and give it a big round of applause for Mr. NFL Outdated. Andy, what's up, my man?
Not too much, man. How's it going?
Perfect.
A little bit late today, but I'm here. So,
hey, I appreciate you joining us. So, Andy, first things first, my brother. How'd you get started? And tell us all about the NFL Outdated podcast.
yeah, absolutely. So I got started actually 2021 NFL draft, and I started it basically, kind of to make myself laugh as NFL outdated breaking news, and basically just breaking old draft news, and just to kind of have a little fun. And then I got connected with a lot of great people, and just started to grow, and then ended up doing a lot of connections on with podcasters, and so something I've really enjoyed is interviewing podcasters from all different NFL teams. Really trying to dive in and find out what are the stories that they're following as fans, as podcasters, and really just kind of grow a network that way. And for me, I'm all about supporting people and connecting people. So if I interview someone, I find like a Bills fan, definitely want to connect them to other Bills fans, and Dolphins, and being a Bears fan as well. I even am connected with a lot of great Packer fans as well. So and that kind of morphed into my own other podcasting efforts as well. And shout out to Uneducated Takes. He's a Vikings guy, and him and I started our podcast, and it was just him and I doing. It was called Outdated and Uneducated, and we had fun. But my guy Cooper from Uneducated Takes said, we should make this into an NFC North podcast, and so we did, and we've really kind of grown that from there, and it's been fun then having other guests on from different teams to really grow the network and in talk NFL football.
So a Bears fan and a Vikings fan, and your podcast is Uneducated. That sounds about perfectly right for me, if you ask me, Andy.
It pretty much was, yeah. But hey, outdated in the past, yes. But we're coming on, especially with Strawberry Justin Fields Forever.
Yeah, outdated in 85 is about right, my friend.
Hey, it's coming. It's coming.
Football always been your passion? I mean, has that been your go-to sport? You play as a kid, or like what drew you to football?
Yeah. I grew up middle school playing football, in high school, and always loved football. And follow the Bears. I saw the VHS tape of the Super Bowl Shuffle. Gotta love Walter Payton and the Bears. Through the years as well, and obviously they stunk for a while. So in the '90s, I actually then was a Steelers fan. So Cordell Stewart and all of that, and Rod Woodson, and so I loved some of those teams as well, and had to have a backup team at that time as well. But I follow baseball, NBA, huge Jordan fan growing up as well. Got a chance to witness some great Bulls teams, and Jordan is still the greatest of all time, no matter what others say. Jordan, head and shoulders, he was just, always the one he was going to close it, and he did. So,
yeah, no, you're 100%. I mean, that's one thing I always agree on. When it comes to the Jordan, like LeBron date, and we're just going to talk just here, That I always tell people I'm a Jordan purist. Like it doesn't
Mhm.
matter what stat, what statistic. Like I'll never say that anybody's better than Michael Jordan. 6-0 is just the greatness. And this Jordan's like his just as an athlete standpoint, his ability to win games when it mattered
Mhm.
the most, his will to win is exceeds any athlete to this day in my mind. I mean, I'm not gonna. I always like we've been on a podcast before, and I always preference like in my lifetime because I don't
Mhm.
like to subject people who I've never seen. But in my 35 years of on this earth, Michael Jordan's will to win is the greatest I've ever seen of any athlete that plays any sport.
Yeah, it's not to take anything away from Braun. I mean, he is an amazing generational talent as well. But he just, he's got all these other interests, and Jordan was, whatever it was winning, and that's all it was about, for him. It was golf game, card game. He was going to win. He was going to, step on your throat, and he was going to step on your mother's throat, to get the win. I mean, that's just Jordan was going to win, and he was going to make it happen. And it's weird, going through it and watching. Just kind of, I was, wondering was he going to do it, but kind of in retrospect, it just, it played out the way it was supposed to. And Jordan, I mean, it was just amazing to watch. It's still amazing to kind of watch the highlights now and just just how it unfolded and everything. And I'm also a huge Cubs fan, so I still get a little teary eyed watching the 2016 World Series championship. So I grew up going to Cubs games, and when they were always fifth place, and Andre Dawson, Ryan Sandberg, all those players, but you just wanted to get out to the Wrigley Field and enjoy the experience, but you didn't expect any wins. And so to have 2016 come to pass, it was amazing, and can't take it away. I mean, they stink now, but eventually, I think hopefully they'll come back.
Yeah, everybody knows how I feel about the Cubs too. We've talked about it that 2016 ride and those things. Absolutely, Cubs fan, and you talk about Jordan. We have those in common. Obviously, we're bitter enemies when it comes to the football field, and we'll get into that dumpster fire, the Bears. But a quick question before we get into all the NFL news but is so we talked about Jordan. Is that your favorite athlete of all time, or is it Walter Payton or somebody like that?
I'm going to say it's Andre Dawson. Just as a kid, I tried to emulate his just really weird baseball stance, and just he was coming up, 49 homers, and just the hawk, and just everything about him. So he's my greatest favorite athlete of all time. But Jordan's number two. Probably the only list that Jordan will be on number two in his list that for me. I mean, but and then Walter Payton, he's definitely up there. I didn't really get a chance to watch him as much as I really wish I would have. But I mean, watching some of the highlights is just amazing. But yeah, a lot of it. I mean, we talk about the during our lifetime, and it does make a difference if you've actually seen them. It just like I mean, talking about sports, players, NBA players, I love Jason Williams, White Chocolate. And just some of the things he was able to do with passes and different things like that, and so having like seeing that, and then kind of going back, be able to watch those highlights from something that you have seen, it's just kind of remembering it is really cool, as opposed to watching highlights that you didn't experience at the time.
All right, we're gonna get in some comments real quick, and then we'll talk all NFL news. So we got some comments here strolling in here. Frankie James says, "Andy, my man, great guy. Super excited for the show. Appreciate it as always, Frankie. We got the Bodkin show, and we got some things cooking up with Frank the Tank. Make sure you check out his stuff. Andy's that good. He's been doing it for 6 days. He has 12,000 followers. Uh, Kenny Miller's at a no such thing as a great Packers fan. That's messed up. My
Oh,
best friend over 20 years. That guy's been my best friend over 20 years. And so that hurts a little bit for him to say that. Next time he asks me to do him a favor, I'm gonna tell him no, remember?
tell you, there's a great Packer fan is one that doesn't sing the Bears song that they like to sing, that you like to sing. I'm sure.
So Kenny, he's a big Cowboys fan. He says, "How about them? How about them Cowboys? Nobody cares. They're choke artists. Just as we can say the same thing about my team, though." Kenny's just trying to get under my skin with this one. I know he doesn't believe it. He's trying to say LeBron's the GOAT, but we're not. That's a different show, a different debate for a different day. So,
well, especially with the Cowboys and how come they still have one of the worst coaches in the NFL. But I'm sure that's
oh yeah,
here
100%. We've gone. Me and Kenny have talked about that, and I said, I told him when they brought in Mike McCarthy, I said, there goes your running game, there goes Ezekiel, Zeke, there goes your team, and I think he realized that it's not that he's not that good. So
well, and this is going probably down another rabbit hole, but even to watch that press conference where you had the owner's son, and then him in the middle. I mean, that was just a dumpster fire right there. So so the Bears aren't quite the worst dumpster fire that we've ever seen. So got to give it to us for that at least.
Yeah, and then he did say, Kenny come back and did say he redeemed himself. Jordan was going to convince himself he tried to step on his mother's throat, and that's absolutely. 100%. He would just come up with, and that's what made him so great was he would just come up with crazy things on the fly that he felt slighted or just whatever it was. That made him just absolutely, it could have been anything. You wore the wrong shoes. You didn't buy Jordans or something, just something small. And he would just go out there and he would just dominate you. We could probably spend 2 hours talking about our love for Michael Jordan, but
absolutely.
Andy, let's go ahead and get into some NFL stuff. So every year it seems like there's 3 players that just kind of come out, whether they be rookies, a year 2 guy, or even sometimes a year 3 guy, 3 players that, players that just kind of come out of the nowhere. Who's 3 guys right now that as fans that we should be looking at that, are kind of you expect to take that next leap this year?
Well, this is a player that a lot of people are hating on already, and I was on his bandwagon before the major trade for AJ Brown. Jalen Hurts, I really think that he is primed for a breakout season, but to be in the MVP conversation, I don't know if he will win it, but I think he's going to be in the conversation. When you look at his stats from Alabama. In his stats, then Oklahoma. He in college he grew, and there's a lot of different areas that he ended up. Obviously, he was asked to do a little bit more, and as far as his stats, his completion percentages went up, and even probably the biggest thing, he improved his mechanics. And so, if he was able to do that in college, and now we're looking at in the NFL, I really see. Him being able to take that step now with that, obviously adding AJ Brown. It's just going to be amazing to see kind of him in that offense. And then also, year 2, I like what he's going to do. So number 1 is, Jalen Hurts. And obviously, it's easy right now to be, not on his bandwagon, but I'm really looking for Jalen Hurts to take that step this year. And I'm ready for people to have receipts on that, but I'm all in on Jalen Hurts.
I'm not in on him, but I'm not all the way out on him. I think he is the player that has one of the most players that have the most pressure on him. I think a lot of pressure is going to be put on him because if you're right, Andy, then and he is that breakthrough guy, and he's somewhat in that MVP discussion rate, then he looks great. And it's looked great on Philly for doing everything that they've done the last 2 years. But the problem is the guy. I question whether he can throw or not and be accurate. He finally has all the weapons here. I like the AJ Brown. They have good running backs, a good offensive line. He can scramble outside the quarterback. If I was to vote like guys who have the most pressure on them this year, I would put Jalen Hurts at the very top of that list because of the moves they made in the offseason to give him better weapons. So the pressure's on. Now I don't know whether he can uphold that pressure and meet the pressure and the expectations are here because the pressure is going to be on him this season.
Oh, absolutely. And you talked about, being accurate. So 2020 started 4 games, 52%, not very good. 2021, 15 games, 61.3%. So that's a pretty good increase there. And then you look at, 2020, and you got his top receiver was Travis Fulgham, 539 yards. He had Goddard, Richard Rodgers. So, he didn't have a lot of targets, or a lot of, reliable receivers. 2021, in this Sirianni offense. Devontae Smith, 916 yards, Goddard, 830, Quez Watkins is there, Gainwell, and now to add A.J. Brown to that. So a second year Devontae Smith, and just that growth, I really see them kind of coming together in that accuracy, I think, in my opinion, is going to go up, especially, when you got, route runner like Devontae Smith, and then you got just a beast like AJ Brown, that's going to help a lot as well.
It'll be key for AJ Brown to stay healthy, which he has never done. Before we get to player number 2 that you got here, we got Frankie chiming in, big Philly guy, obviously. Make sure you're checking out Frank the Tank podcast. He says, yeah, Philly in the house, and then he's kind of on board with you here. He's jumping on, obviously representing his home team. He says, been watching Jalen since college, leadership, composure, improved mechanics, now has some good weapons to go along. He's jumping on with you. Eagles win that division is what he's saying. I'm not 100% sure on that yet, but both wide receivers, 1,000 yards, hot take, and you heard it here first. So you and Frankie are, you either cooking that Philly meth together, or that's some good Philly cheesesteak. We'll find out.
Well, who else say in the division, right? The Cowboys. Come on, the Cowboys. Last year, if they didn't do it last year, that's not. Amari Cooper, that's going to be a huge loss right there. And you still have just the worst coach in the NFL, one of them, I guess. And 49ers, we just don't know what's going to happen there. I think they're going to be good. I don't think we have a Deebo Samuel.
Their division or their conference is what you're saying, because
I'm just starting. Oh, sorry. Yeah, I'm conference as well, but division wise, sorry, it got me thinking of the 49ers, but division wise, obviously, Giants are nothing, right? Cowboys, I don't believe in the Cowboys, and the Commanders,
big question mark. Yeah, big
huge
question. No, every team has question marks in that division. I'll 100% agree with you there. So Kenny's chiming in here because we're talking Cowboys a little bit. Cowboys coaches loses their games. No one can utilize Dak and Zeke the correct way, and they'll never succeed. 100%. Kenny's right on the money there, and that's kind of what we're alluding to. Old Mike McCarthy. He's not a good coach. Everybody. Right. He just never was, and every Packer fan will tell you that he got lucky the one year they won the Super Bowl, and things paved out, and then he's lost them a lot. He lost the Packers a lot of playoff games too. So who's another player that you're looking at as a guy on the rise here?
Well, it's going to have to be Rondale Moore. Obviously with Christian Kirk being gone and DeAndre Hopkins 6-game suspension, and they're going to have a lot of opportunities. Rondale Moore's got that opportunity. And I think he's going to obviously be in the mix. You got Marquise Brown, but I really think that Rondale Moore is going to be that guy that's that yak guy, yard after catch. I think that's going to be important. And I he's going to be that one that's going to take that next step in that Cardinals offense. I'm not in on the Cardinals as a whole, but I think Rondale Moore has that speed and quickness and just that open field running skills that's really going to pose problems for defenders in space.
Yeah, I like Rondale Moore. A lot of weapons there in Arizona. You just named them. You still got Zach Ertz. We'll see what happens with Kyler Murray. Can he continue to progress and take that next step as a passer? And Cliff, I'm not a Cliff Kingsbury guy. He could probably be on that list of worst NFL coaches in my mind. Not a great coach, I don't think, but they got some weapons. Especially, you mentioned D-Hop. They still have an aging AJ Green still there as well, but that'll take I'm not saying he's AJ Green of like 5 years ago, but
Mhm.
especially the second half when they get D Hop back and you have Brown, and then you can put Rondell Moore. I mean, who's going to cover him? If you can't double both D Hop and Brown, and then you're going to have more wide open. He'll probably have a way bigger season than he did even as his rookie last year. Give us one more, Andy. Who you like here? That's going to be kind of guy that you're looking at.
Rashad Bateman, obviously with Marquise, Brown going, leaving, and I have to go with another Big Ten, former Big Ten receiver as well. Went with Rondale Moore, Purdue Boilermaker, and Rashad Bateman, Minnesota Golden Gopher. I see him, being the guy, and I think it's going to be interesting, just to see the Ravens, and they're a team that had so many injuries last year, and you look with what they're going to need to do. They're going to need to obviously their running team, that's huge, but that's going to open the open the field quite a bit. And really, who else the Ravens have? So he's got the big play dimension, and I think that's going to really create some touchdowns, yards, and I really see him being that home run hitter and just a natural number one. I mean, we saw him in Minnesota; he was just amazing, and I think now keep him healthy. I think he's going to be really important, complementary piece because the offense does go through Andrews, but that's going to open it up. And you talk about complementary, and when you just really add it on to it, I think that means he is going to really excel in that offense as a whole.
Yeah, I'm right with you. You mentioned Rondell Moore and Rashad Bateman. Like those are two guys I wish the Packers had drafted in that, last year in that draft. Unfortunately, well, we just don't know how to draft receivers in the first round. So I'd have loved to have either one of them. I like Rashad Bateman. I think he's better than Marquise Brown was. Couple even last year, even the year before. I think he'll be ready to take that next step. Having Lamar there, if Lamar can stay healthy, I'm looking at a big season from Rashad Bateman as well. When you're the only game in town and you're as good and young as he is, like I said, I think he'll be better than what Marquise Brown was for that team, being the number one guy. So I like that. I like both of those picks there by both those guys, Andy. I really do.
And I really think Lamar Jackson, he's going to be, on a mission this year, with, his contract and everything. And just, I really think he's going to have a monster year this year. And he's going to have to, I think, for that Ravens team, to make some noise.
So on the flip side of that, there's always guys that seem to be everybody's high on, and then they just come out and let's just, whatever it be injuries or anything, play guys around them. But who's guys that you expect to be kind of shit in the bed here?
I got to start with Mac Jones, and they got to the playoffs, right? But I don't see him, being that overall guy that's going to, get the Patriots where they need to go. I think with that offense, they hit a lot of things that were deficiencies for him, and now not having McDaniels there, I think that's going to be an issue offensively. So I think Mac Jones is definitely a player that's going to defecate in the bed. Yes.
Yeah, I think everybody's out on the Patriots, which to me, when everybody's out on the Patriots, that makes them the most dangerous. To me, like that's
I could see that.
I mean, right? Like when you count them out, like everybody's counting them out. I mean, you turn on anything, you talk to anybody, whether it's fantasy or real life football, whatever you want to say. Everybody's counting the Patriots out, and it's because they don't have McDaniels, or they don't have the weapons, or they don't have the defense. They still have Bill Belichick, right? Like, I mean, he's still the greatest coach of all time.
Oh yeah, he's definitely the greatest, but talent wins out as well. I mean, you can have an amazing coach, and just the talent needs to win out, and it showed in the playoffs. With the Bills. I mean, they got blown out of the playoffs. Because of talent. And I think that's going to be a big thing. He's definitely an amazing coach, probably the greatest one of all time, but talent wins out.
Yeah, when the talent is so, especially in the NFL, people don't understand, like the talent level is so thin. And when you have just that extra I mean, Belichick can coach them all up, but it might be time. I mean, it's time to maybe turn the page and see. We'll find out. We got just quick more comments for you. Give our next player here. Frank again is adding Ravens are becoming that Washington Caps team. Just can't get over the hump. One of the best in the regular season, but can't get close enough. Let's see. Oh, we have one more here. And then he adds Mac Jones is incredible. McDaniels will hurt, but I see him just getting better. Incredible talent, underrated. Had him to have a better season than Lawrence last year. Boom, he says. So
Anything can happen, but I just don't see it.
Yeah, I think Trevor's going to bounce back. I mean, that would have been a guy that I like to see. But who's another guy that you think is going to, shit the bed?
This one I kind of went back and forth on, but because you love the guy, but I just think Matt Ryan. I've just been out on him. From fantasy last year, and a lot of that was with Atlanta and everything as well. But I just when you look at the Colts weapons, how much better are they than what he had? I mean, they're a little bit better, right? But I just don't see Matt Ryan leading the Colts to the playoffs. I think he's going to.
Ooh.
Yeah, I just think he's going to have a down year, I think.
I'm clearly I'm on the opposite end here, Andy. Like maybe because I watch too much Pat McAfee and he buys me into the Colts, so I'm buying into the Colts stock. They just have that defense alone has too much talent on them. And if all Matt Ryan, and I know, Wentz's numbers were pretty decent, but he still turned the ball over. As long as Matt Ryan doesn't turn the ball over, turns and stays healthy, turns it to Taylor, can find Pittman, and a couple other those weapons that they've drafted and a few other weapons I'm sure that they'll find, Mo Alley Cox and a couple of those other guys. Maybe I'm just buying in because McAfee's a Colt guy and I just watch too much Pat McAfee during the day, and this makes me buy into the Colts. So, and I don't think that division's any damn good anyway.
That's true.
I mean, the Jaguars are going to suck. The Texans are going to suck. The Colts are probably just as good as the Titans right now. I mean, hand in hand, right? Like,
Jaguars defense is going to be tough, though. I think Jaguars you could take a step up.
I like the Colts probably to win that division. I mean, it's early still, but
so go with me on this then. Go with me on this. So if you're all in on the Colts, you must be all in on the Bears because most of the Colts former staff is with the Bears now this year. So.
You'd have to take both my nuts before I ever went out on the Bears.
I tried.
Hey, give me all right. Well, we got couple more comments, and then we'll get into your last shit in the bed player here. So, let's see. We got agree. Frankie says agreed. Time to hang it up. I also see Ryan Tannehill with a massive regression.
I mean, is he going to be on the bench? I mean, that would how much more aggressive.
Smoke and Jeremy B does that to me on the line, so don't feel bad. From Tanner from the Sport, Mark Sanchez greater than Matt Ryan. Get out of here, Frankie.
Wow,
you and Frankie. I'm gonna have to stop hiding comments over here. You're crazy.
I'm not even saying that.
Yeah, Frankie's really getting high in he's on cloud 85 if he's thinking that right now. Go ahead, give us one last player here that's going to shit the bed here before we get into some teams.
I had a couple where I really wanted to go on. This is a difficult one. It's a close tie here. I'm going to go ahead and say Zach Wilson. I just don't see how much different he is than Sam Darnold. I just don't. So,
yeah, I'm with you. I mean, can you really shit the bed if you already shit the bed once? I mean, can you shit the bed twice?
Yeah, you can. Yeah,
can he be worse than he was last year?
Well, yeah, because now there's more expectations. There really is, and so I just my close runner up was Russell Wilson. I
don't know about that one. I mean,
well, see, Russell Wilson. I mean, he's been a great player. He's got a lot of great weapons. That's the thing. If he doesn't make it work, I mean, yeah, he's done. But um, he just says the most cringeworthy things, and it just make you wonder if he's really all in on football or not. I mean, just the way he says it and everything. It's going to be interesting to see how he adjusts to a new offense. So that's why there's a little bit of I'm out on him because of that. He may be good in year two, but this year I'm not in on him. But I couldn't pass up on Zach Wilson. I know as a fan, as a Jets fan, or as a fan of any team, you want to believe in your quarterback because I'm that way with Justin Fields. He had a lot of things that he needed to improve on from last year. A lot of that was offense, coaching as well, and I'm sure we'll get into that. But when you look at it, you want to believe it because if what's the alternative? If the team sucks because of him, they got to start over. And quarterback is the most important position in the NFL. And Zach Wilson is just even hearing stories from Twitter connection BYU some of his days in college. Just kind of I'm out on him altogether.
Yeah, I'm out. I was never a fan of Zach Wilson. Still not a fan.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, like I said, I don't know if you can shit the bed twice. If you can, because I mean, for your sake though, you should be grateful that the Jets did take Zach Wilson because I thought Fields was, the second best quarterback in that class last
Mm-hmm.
year.
Mm-hmm.
I like him over Trey Lance. I liked him over Zach Wilson. Just because the level of competition and the things that Fields can do. So for the Bears' sake, they should be thanking the Jets picked an awful quarterback because I'm not. I don't think that Zach Wilson's the guy.
Mm-hmm.
I haven't heard great things either, just like you have of from outside of the organization, from his college days to now, of anybody other than his mom saying staying away from the hookers and Instagram. And that her baby Zach won't have any of that. So
Hey.
I want to get it just you said Russ Wilson, and I know Russ is I mean, he does say cringe-worthy things, and he's so it's weird, it's
Mm-hmm.
awkward. But I mean, the kid can play, and I don't know how much they're gonna let Russ cook in as they would say. But they're bringing in the Packers' old
Nathaniel
OC,
Hackett. Yep.
Nathaniel Hackett. Yeah, I couldn't think of his name. And you saw what Rodgers did with the running game, with the two-headed monster with the running game. They have, I mean, you give Rodgers those weapons that Russ is going to have,
Oh,
and
absolutely.
it's going to be incredible because I mean, you got Tim Patrick, you have Jerry Jeudy,
Mm-hmm.
Cortland Sutton. They did trade Noah Fant, their tight end, in the
Mm-hmm.
trade, but I mean, they have some absolute dogs on that team, and that doesn't include Javonte Williams and Melvin Gordon in the
Mm-hmm.
backfield. So I mean, if Russ can't get it done and get that team, to a wild card, or and that defense is pretty solid still, with a lot of good young talent, that it will be on Russ and the pressure is on him. But I mean, I think that I wouldn't. He'll get the job done. I believe. I think they'll get the job done.
Well, part of this too, I wanted to say this for my guy Mike Purcell, a Stan on Twitter as well. I always give him a hard time about the Broncos as well. So, but I don't know. It'll be interesting to see can he do it, and quarterbacks get the benefit of the doubt when they've done it before, right? Mahomes has done it before. Rodgers has done it maybe I don't know. I don't even remember. I think he beat a third string quarterback to get the Super Bowl. Not Caleb Haney. Yeah, that's right. I forgot his name. Anyway, so these quarterbacks who have done it before get the benefit of the doubt, and Russell Wilson gets that benefit of the doubt because he's been there before, and another Wisconsin guy as well for a year, I guess. But he also lost one too. In because of his might have been coaching too, but that throw. So we'll see. You look at that as well. I mean, did the Seahawks win the Super Bowl because of him, or did they win it because of their defense?
Well,
So,
yeah, I mean their defense, so we'll kind of get into it here as well. This kind of leads into our next perfect segue. Here is those teams. We're talking because I think Denver could be one of them teams that missed the playoffs last year and makes the playoffs this year. So, what three teams that missed the playoffs last year because it happens every year. Two or three teams, especially, go from dang near worst to first, or we see it kind of building. But three teams that missed the playoffs last year that you think are probably going to get in this year.
I'm going with the Vikings, and as a Bears fan, it pains me to say, but as an anti-Packer fan, or against the Packers, anybody but the Packers. But I like what the Vikings did, with their coaching staff. I think that offense is going to be huge. Justin Jefferson, you got so many weapons. Everyone's out on Kirk Cousins, right? But if you look at Kirk Cousins, and maybe this is controversial, but I would say, Kirk Cousins, I would take him over Russell Wilson. I really, when you think of,
Hot take Andy here. Hot take Andy.
And I know he's been kind of controversial. He was having an MVP season at the beginning of the year. I mean, he was really slinging it, and in a new offense. When you actually have a coach that cares, in the because I mean that's what my guy Cooper Uneducated Takes. He would tell us every week. Just how separate the offense was. That Kirk Cousins, and they didn't even get along. And now that you have that, and they're all bought in together, I really like what they're going to do this year. And I think they're going to get in and take the division. I think the Packers will probably get that in the playoffs. I mean, with Aaron Rodgers, but you have to be scared, for the receivers. I mean, everyone wants to believe that their players are going to be good and everything.
No, I don't believe. That's the thing, and I've said this on about 80 podcasts.
Smart Packer fan, yes.
Yeah, I don't believe because we have Randall Cobb. When's the last time Randall Cobb played 16 games? I'll wait. We have Alan Lazard. When's the last time he played 17 games? I'll wait. Or even 16 games. We have Sammy. Miami always hurts Watkins. When's the last time he played 16 games? I'll wait. So I am worried about their receiving core. Here's why. I don't think the Vikings are even second, Andy. And here's a hot take for you. I think the Detroit Lions, I'm hopping on the Detroit Lions train to finish second in that division. I still got the Packers because I think our defense is leaps and bounds. We're gonna play solid defense. We're gonna run the damn ball really well because we still have two great running backs. We still have Aaron Jones. We still have AJ Dillon, two great running backs to go along with one of the greatest quarterbacks of all time. As long as Aaron Rodgers is upright, we're going to be right there. I mean, that's with any team. If your starting quarterback gets hurt, you pretty much your season's going to go to shit. But I like the Detroit Lions, man. I for whatever reason, I'm hopping on the Lions train. I like them to get second. I think I have the Packers first, Lions second, Vikings third, and the Bears last.
Yeah, that's fair with the Bears last. The one thing I worry about the Lions is you don't have Jameson Williams. We don't know how long he's going to be out. So that'll be interesting. I do like what the Lions have done, and they're definitely taking steps to compete long term. Whether this is the year or not, we don't know. The Packers, we looked at their schedule and they've got a really difficult schedule. So I think, people are kind of, sleeping on that, just assuming, Packers are going to win. But you look at that schedule, it's really difficult. And, it will be really important to see, Aaron Rodgers, how he gels with the receivers and trust them, because that takes some time, to trust the receivers. You can't just expect Christian Watson to come in and be, Devontae Adams last year. You just can't it's going to take him time. And so that the running game is going to be huge for them. But then if team defenses start, keying on that, what's going to happen. But yeah, I think for the Packers, the defense is going to be huge. So it's really, there's so many, all four teams, there's so many different, directions that all four teams could take this year, and even the Bears, I'm not really expecting much. But, offensively, if they get really on the same page, Justin Fields, his development, that could really, change it. I don't see them making the playoffs this year. As Bears fans, we just talked about it, just want to see some development and some growth in him. And obviously we can probably talk about receivers and stuff here soon. Yeah.
Yeah, I think the Packers will struggle early, but I think their defense is going to be good enough to keep them in games. They're going to run ball control, and and then if in the fourth quarter, in the last 2 minutes, I'll take Aaron Rodgers over, with scrub receivers named Nick Bodkins and Andy NFL outdated against a lot of other guys. That's just how I feel. And that's a little my fan bias, but
Yeah.
that's also just being real, like what I've seen, for the last, 18 years that Aaron Rodgers has been our quarterback.
Mhm.
So what's another team that's making the playoffs that missed out last year?
So I think everyone's kind of on the bandwagon, the Chargers bandwagon. I see the Chargers, getting there with everything they've done. In with Herbert, his next step and in his growth, I see them making the playoffs from that division. So I mean, that's gonna. I mean, I know
Should have
we'll
been last year. They should have been last year,
Mhm,
right? I mean, really,
mhm.
should have got in last year.
Absolutely, yep. So the Chargers are there, and kind of with that, I don't know what you want to talk about the Chargers, but my next one I have the Ravens making it as well. And when you look at their backfield, what they're coming back, and just I think Lamar Jackson has a chip on his shoulder. They were doing really well before all the injuries. I mean, they were on track, and when you look at that team of how many injuries, I mean, other than the Saints, I'd have to look, but the Saints probably had the most injuries all. It was a record for the Saints, but the Ravens were right there as well with injuries, and for them to be in contention with Tyler Huntley as their quarterback, it says a lot for overall for that team, and so I see the Ravens getting in as well.
Yeah, I'm both of those teams. I mean, you talk about the Ravens and their injuries. I mean, their starting running backs both tore their ACLs like back-to-back days. I mean, J.K. Dobbins and then is it Justice Hill or who was it that
Well, I thought the Gus Bus lost his too.
Gus Edwards, that's right.
Yep,
Yes.
yep.
So and then you're running out, got to sign 80-year-old, Le'Veon Bell, and you're signing a
Mm-hmm.
couple other guys. I think Frank Gore or somebody. When you're running out to
Yeah.
everybody and anybody as your running back, and then you're on top of that, your starting quarterback. Your former league MVP gets hurt, and he was shut down most of the last month of the season or so. Uh, but you know, like those two teams I like to get in. I think they get in eventually. The Chargers should have been in last year. Look at their talent. They added Mack, J.C. Jackson to that
Mm-hmm.
defense. They already had the offensive weapons. Herbert, is going to be, taking another step. Still got Keenan Allen. Still got Mike Williams.
Mm-hmm.
They got
Well,
they got the weapons.
Well, and speaking of Mac on defense, there were some Bears fans that were upset that got traded and stuff, but he wasn't going to do it. I mean, the trajectory of this team was not going to be good. They needed to kind of move on from him. They got what they could out of him, and it'll be good that he is not the main guy, right? They got a lot of other weapons on that defense, and when you look at the Bears, he was kind of when he was healthy, he was supposed to be the guy, and I think it'll take a lot. I think it'll probably add to his career maybe a year or two. When you look at him, not being keyed on every single game. I mean, with the Bears, he was, and he showed out. Um, for a little bit there, and obviously he wasn't what we thought he was going to be. Long term, but you know, I think he's going to be a huge addition for the Chargers.
Yeah, I think their coach learned a lot too, right? Like, I
Mm-hmm.
mean,
Mm-hmm.
from year one to what this year. I mean, he had a lot of questionable like decisions. I mean, fourth down, no matter what he felt like he was going for it. 4th and 25, he was going to go for it. I mean, just a lot of. So hopefully he'll learn from that. I like the aggressive style, but he still got to maybe just dial it back just a hair or two.
Absolutely. Yep. Yep.
So on the flip side, we got three teams that are getting in. What are the three teams that you see, made the nice run and last year and slid in and now are going to fall apart this year?
Well, I mean, this one we'll do the one who the Cardinal or the Vikings are replacing. I'm going to say the Cardinals. We just don't really know. I think Rondell Moore will have an uptick in his production. But yeah, we don't know what Kyler Murray is going to be. DeAndre Hopkins was huge for that team, huge, and obviously, you look at the running backs. I mean, kind of we'll see what happens there as well. But I just don't see the Cardinals getting in, and I see them really taking a step back this year.
Yeah, the Cardinals were a whole different team once D-Hop got hurt. Like they were ascending and on the rise, and then once he got hurt, it just seemed like their offense. It's like like Kyler Murray didn't know who to throw to, or it was like catered to him and Kyler and what they do, and then there was it's like no other plays in the playbook that were made for anybody else. The Rams, that's a tough division too. You talk about the Rams and 49ers. They're not going to go anywhere, especially the 49 the Rams. I mean, the defending champs, and they just keep adding it somehow, some way. They just keep adding players.
They do, yeah.
Yeah,
salary cap doesn't exist, right?
Exactly. So that's a tough one. It just I don't know if the Vikings will replace them. Obviously, I don't have that, but I could see another team sliding in. We talked a little bit about the Eagles. Maybe they could fall out as well. Just have been a lot of pressure on Jalen Hurts. They were a team, I think, because I think the Commanders will be a little bit better if they're a little bit healthier as well. So there could be a couple teams that are just on the flip side that could sneak in. I'm not sold on Arizona, but I still think they're probably good enough to make the playoffs. They just have too much talent, and that's the biggest thing for me. They have too much talent.
Yeah.
I mean, but the Saints could get in too, because they're another team, that I like that, when healthy, they got down to, they're starting Ian Book on a Monday night game, to try to make stay in the playoff hopes. Again, like Ian Book, like
that's right. Yeah. I would say I went back and forth on the Saints, defensively. I mean, it's just amazing. I think Jameis is going to be huge. I like what the Saints are doing. So I was just trying to look and see, on the NFC side, who I would take out. And, it's tough. I mean, maybe take the 49ers out, but yeah, I do like the Saints as well. I just wasn't sure who to replace, because I'm, as you know, I'm all in on Jalen Hurts. It's tough to go against Tom Brady. I guess you take the Cowboys out. I mean, that might be a possibility as well. But yeah, I like the Saints. I just, when I was kind of going through it, I didn't have, enough to say, oh yeah, they're definitely going to be in. So,
all right, what's another team you got on the outs?
So, I think we talked about this earlier. Patriots, and I just don't see them this year. I think they're going to have some regression with Mac Jones. So I think he is. Going to have some growing pains this year, and the Patriots are as well. I mean, they just, we'll see what happens with the receiving core. I mean, they always try to kind of patch something together, but we'll see.
Yeah, I think that division just got better too. Every team, I mean, even we talked about, Zach Wilson being shitty with the Jets, but they still got better players around him this year, and they're going to be a better team. And, the Bills are obviously now the class of that division, and the Dolphins got better. We talked about Hurts earlier, a lot of pressure on him. Same with Tua, I think a lot of pressure on him this year. So I'm 100% agreement that probably the Patriots are going to miss out here. I think they got a little lucky last year. And you'd got to every once in a while. The ball bounces your way a time or two. I just don't think that the ball's going to bounce their way this year. So what's the last team here that you got on the outs here?
Well, we'll do hot take, a little bit controversial here. I'm going to say the Chiefs. I'm going to say they're going to finish last in their division this year.
Last.
Yes. So even good old Russell Wilson's going to be ahead of them, and good old Derek Carr I think Derek Carr / Aaron Rodgers. I think they look the same. I think they're the same. I think Devontae Adams said that, right? So I think they're going to be, there as well. But I don't see the Chiefs really. They're really going to miss the Cheetah. I really think they're going to miss him a lot. And they're another team, like the Packers that, you know, when you look at receivers, you got a quarterback who's done it before, and you try to trust them, but it takes time. Number one, and number two, you know, what's going to happen, with that offense. I think you look at Travis Kelce, that's going to be important, but what if defenses are going to key on him, and you got to have something that Tyreek Hill, gave them that, where's that going to come from? And so we'll see with them. Their defense is going to be better with George Karlaftis, and they're going to need it to be. But I don't see the Chiefs making the playoffs this year.
Well, I am. I mean, I'm a Missouri. I live in Missouri, and I'm not a Chiefs fan, and I am shocked here. I can't. 6 years in a row they've won that division. It's hard. I will never bet against Andy Reid in the regular season. In the postseason, I might have to bet against him. But Andy Reid in the regular season and Patrick Mahomes, I'll take them. They'll figure it out. You know what I mean? And the thing I hate about the Chiefs fans here, and as everybody's hopping on this MVS train, believe me, I've seen that MVS Stonehands show. If you had Aaron Rodgers throwing you the ball and he didn't put up huge numbers, it doesn't matter. Aaron Rodgers or Patty Mahomes throwing you the ball. If Aaron Rodgers, you can put up numbers with Aaron Rodgers. You're not going to put up any numbers with, Patty Mahomes. It's almost the same caliber player, y'all. And so MVS isn't an upgrade over anybody that you already had on your roster.
Well, and who really won that game against the Bills?
Well, yeah, you're right. I mean, it was
Cheetah, right? You don't have that. Just doesn't happen without him. I mean, you got Travis Kelce, right? But that just doesn't happen, without that speed. And yes, I know they added, another receiver, which is great, but it's going to take time to develop. But you can't duplicate that. You can't replicate that. And I think that's, all of that chemistry as well, that kind of running around, Patrick Mahomes, he was able to do that, to try to find Tyreek Hill, Tyreek Hill in the Super Bowl. I mean, he made that play, obviously, Mahomes is amazing, right? But just that connection. And when he was able to find that space and then that speed, he just, it's going to be tough. And I, overall, I think they're going to miss him a ton. As much as the Packers are going to miss Devontae Adams, I think Tyreek Hill is going to be missing in that offense.
Yeah, I think so too. I think they're going to struggle early. I mean, Tyrone Matthew out on the defensive side. That was their defensive leader. I think that's going to hurt them a little bit. But I'm not betting on them to finish last. I'll still, if you want to tell me the Chargers get that division first, I might agree there, but I'm not betting on the Raiders because they always seem to find a way to shit the bed when they're favored.
Yeah.
And I think that the Chiefs will figure it out. Before we talk your dumpster fire Bears here, we got some comments in here. Contributor here in front of the show, Craig Hoger, Sean Payton gone, turnover machine, Jameis still there, Kamara missing some time. He's not ready to gamble on the Saints, which is fair enough. I mean, that suspension hasn't come down on Alvin Kamara either yet, though. So we don't know what that is. And is Alvin before we get to the next comment, is he sliding under the radar due to the Deshaun Watson thing? Because it seems like everybody's talking about Deshaun and everybody's forgot about Alvin Kamara stomping the shit out of a dude. And maybe because that still happened at the Pro Bowl, which was 6 months ago. Everybody forgot about that, and the NFL forgot about it, and they're just focused on Deshaun Watson. Is that what's going on there?
It really seems like it. I mean, they've got to have something. I think they'll probably kind of work on just something that he'll miss minimal time. We'll see. I mean, but he's going to miss time. But really, when you look at that defense, it really is on that defense. And you look at Jameis, Winston. He's been a turnover machine, but he was able to really push the ball downfield last year. And whether it's contacts or whatever, LASIK surgery or whatever he had, he was obviously, you saw he shredded the Packers, right?
Yeah, yeah,
And
week one, yeah.
week one, and you add
Michael
who's the
Thomas,
receiver?
Olave to the Chris Olave
Olave,
to that team. They got
the
some weapons.
the best receivers the Saints have ever had. From top to bottom. I think. I mean, you look at the receivers they had last year. I mean, and they still were in the hunt. The defense kept them in the hunt. So yeah, I know it's Jameis is Jameis, right? Rodgers or Mahomes get the benefit of the doubt because they've been there before. Jameis gets the opposite because he's done the opposite for so long, and he's just been weird on some things. But when you look at the community and how he's just really kind of embedded himself in that community, it's really kind of the perfect place for him. And I I think he's going to have a good year this year if he stays healthy.
Yeah, coming back from ACL surgery too.
Mm-hmm.
So, Sports Buffoons, they're based out of Kansas City, so they said, "What? I knew the Chiefs were coming, but that is a fire take." Absolutely. We talked about that. Got it. Oh, on here. Um,
Got to have
Craig.
controversial takes, right?
Hey, yeah, you got to, man. Hey, stand by it, Andy. Are the Bengals on the radar? Are they a team that you think is going to slip out? I got them winning that division. I just think top to bottom, they're still fully loaded.
Mm-hmm.
It's on the NFC or the AFC North there. And then as long as Joey B stays healthy, and then he just says Craig's a big Bears fan too.
Mm-hmm.
He says Rodgers blackballed MVS. That's not true. So I hate when people. I don't think he blackballed anybody. He's all about trying to win.
Rodgers is.
Yes, I
Except
mean
when
he's
it
not
counts, right?
blackballing people. He's not blackballing. He's just trying to force it to Devontae 20 times a game, but he's trying to get his guy paid.
Yeah.
So Tanner just said the Chiefs take because he's got a show. It's we do a show and JG's a guy on their show who has a lot of hot takes. And he said that's a JG level. It is, but I could not dead last. Not dead last. I'm gonna hold you to that though. We're gonna revisit this.
Yeah, I'm okay with that. Like I wavered a little bit. I interviewed a Raiders podcaster and just talking about their defense. Their defense is going to be interesting. Could be their Achilles heel. The Raiders, offensively, I just think they're going to be amazing. I know whether you're in or out on Carr, I think they've got too many weapons. Even more than what Russ has in Denver.
Yeah, you're right. When you're adding, you're 100% right on the money on the Raiders weapons. I mean, Darren Waller, Hunter Renfrow. We saw what he did last year, and then you add Devontae Adams, arguably the greatest, the best receiver in the game, to that team, and plus, Jacobs, the running back, a couple other, guys on that team as well. So we'll see. I'm going to hold you to that Chiefs pick. So speaking of dumpster fires, let's talk about your Bears here. I mean, you started off saying, Walter Payton and talking, like every other Bears does. I've never met a Bears fan that can't talk 85, in their life, even whether they've seen the 85 Bears or not. What's your realistically expectations here for the Bears? I mean, it seems like the last 3-4 years, it's a new quarterback, new GM, new coach. We're looking at, I remember, Jay Cutler was the answer. Jay Cutler and that run. And then it was, Mitch Trubisky. He was the guy with Nagy. And then it was, no, it's not Mitch. It's Justin Fields. And, now the new coach, is it Fieberloose is his name? Or is that the GM's name?
Eberflus.
Yeah. It's not. It doesn't matter. They're all losers in my book. But so what's the realist expectations here for the Bears this season?
There's so many different outcomes. It could be anywhere from 3-4 wins to 8-9 wins. Depending on Justin Fields' development. When you look at the schedule, there's some winnable games on that schedule. I just don't know if they're ready. There's so many holes offensively. They're still missing. A receiver that I think really need to. Darnell Mooney was interesting. I was just looking at a stat or a tweet of he was a 1,000-yard receiver for the Bears, and when you look at that with what he was, going back and forth between, Fields and offense, and when during the season we looked at the all-time Bears receivers when they were kind of coming toward the end, was coming 1,000 yards, and the number 4 all-time leading receiver for the Bears. Did you know who it is?
I'm gonna guess Muhsin Muhammad.
No, number 4 all-time wide receiver in yards is Walter Payton.
Oh shit!
Yes, exactly.
Isn't Musa Muhammad up there though? He got to be. He had a couple of good years.
I'd have to look. He did. But and that just says the Bears receivers have not been the greatest. But then also quarterback wise, and so when you look at it, Darnell Mooney, it's going to be interesting to see. I mean, he kind of has the edge to him, which I like. I've been questioning. You question, is he a number 1 wide receiver? And we don't know that, and we'll find out this year. Without the Robbins, without him there, I think that's going to be huge. In his size, I think that's going to be at 5'11". Can he be that number 1 wide receiver that small? I mean, it's going to be he has that connection with Fields. I think that's important. You look at receivers, Velus Jones Jr. That's going to be another interesting to see how he develops. And so really Bears wise, there's so many different outcomes depending on Fields. If he takes that next step, I mean, he showed flashes of it last year that got me excited to say, okay, well, this isn't just another, first round quarterback. This can be the guy long term. And I'm an Iowa fan, so it's tough for me to like an Ohio State player, but I liked him, seeing him in the bowl game versus Clemson, and he just has that, in him. He can be the guy. And so when the Bears drafted him, I was excited. And last year we saw some glimpses. We also saw some things where he really needed to work on. And I think he's gone back and done some of that this year. In the off season. I think that'll be important. But overall, really it comes down to coaching. And they just put him in horrible spots. The Cleveland game, it was just horrible. What they were trying to do with the offensive line, they weren't even, putting the offensive line in spots to have them be successful. And just, it was just atrocious what they were doing overall. And even, Fields has said that as well. So I'm not really looking at wins and losses. I just want to see some progression and see some of those flashes that we saw. Because I even, during that last Packer game, I got excited. It was probably one of the best first halves. I was excited to say, okay, hey, there's something here. And then Aaron Rodgers finished it off, and it is what it is, right? But so I saw enough that I'm excited. But I also have to temper that expectation, knowing that there's so many holes that the previous regime just kind of left. Offensive line's a big question mark. We'll see. I mean, what happens with that? They have some good, good young players. Larry Borum. We'll see what Tevin Jenkins does. And we'll see some of those young players. So I'm not expecting a ton, but you look at the progression and. If we see an upward trajectory with Fields, I think that's the key. And then David Montgomery, I mean, is huge. He'll be huge in the offense as well. So,
you keep saying like progression of Fields, and we talked about the Packers receivers. Who the hell outside of Mooney and maybe Cole Kmet, who, I've heard Bears drumming his name for 3 years, it feels like, and he hasn't shown a whole lot of promise. I know Jimmy Graham was that red zone guy. I always called him one-handed Jimmy Graham because he went up one-handed with everything, even if it was he could have caught it 2 hands when he was with the Packers. Mm-hmm. You keep saying progressions here, but how the hell's the guy supposed to progress when he has nobody to throw the ball to? I mean, we're over here. I love Bears fans always shitting on the Packers receivers, but look what you're dealing with here. It's worse.
No, the Bears have better receivers than the Packers. Oh, Mooney alone is better than anything the Packers have. Come on.
We'll see.
Well, yeah, absolutely. We'll see.
Right now, Randall Cobb, his day is come and gone. But if Mooney has the career that Randall Cobb had, you'll be happy.
What are those little bugs things that that make the noises? sit on the trees and then they make a noise and then they die. What
Locusts. The
locust?
locust.
Okay, I think they call them different in different states and stuff. The
Yeah.
locust, and I think of some of the Packers receivers as those. I think they're making that noise, that last noise. They're ready to die and then move on and to the wherever they go. So I don't know. I see the Bears talent wise, in my opinion, are better than the Packers receivers, but it changes because of quarterback, right? And I've heard this
Yeah.
as well. Because Aaron Rodgers is who he is, right? I think it elevates anybody. Like if you and I were on the Packers roster, it would elevate us, right? I mean,
Exactly. That's what. Yeah. 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 100%.
obviously I have to catch a ball from him, which would be incredibly difficult. But it's going to be incredibly difficult for these receivers as well to do that as well. So, but Velus Jones Jr. is going to be interesting because he's able to really kind of, get in space and the yards after catch. I think he's going to be an interesting player to watch. Cole Kmet, if he doesn't, have, a great year this year, then they may move on. I mean, they signed James O'Shaughnessy, Ryan Griffin, these other cast offs as well. But Cole Kmet really needs to take a step up. You're right. It's going to be tough when you look at it. Byron Pringle, I don't know what we have for him. Tajay Sharp, So yes, it is. It's one of the weak spots of the Bears altogether. And when you got to the draft and everyone said need to get a wide receiver, and just the way things fell, I was happy that they didn't reach for a wide receiver, which the previous regime had always reached for players. They reached for good old Trubisky. You get the general manager in draft room asking around, is you had him number one, right? You had him number one. He was asking people. No, you should know if you're the guy. And so I like what they've done on the defense. Jaquan Brisker, I like what they did to solidify that defense, because they're going to need to with Aaron Rodgers, with that defense, and with maybe what the Lions are doing with their wide receivers. They're going to need those DBs. I think that's important. But overall, kind of going back to the Bears, there are a lot of holes from the previous regime. I really like what they're doing in the front office now. Now they've got a general manager that's a football guy, and they've also got an assistant general manager. Before they were it was a dumpster fire because they were just going through this, ownership, family members who had, a stance that even admitted that they didn't know they weren't football people.
Yeah, wasn't it
McCaskey.
the son, McCaskey's son?
Yes.
It's like my mom thinks I'm doing a great job here.
Yes,
but he's not he doesn't know pretty much dick about football, really. I mean, he kind of come out and said he doesn't know anything about football.
that was So we'll see. As far as head coach, what that'll end up being, but I like that they started with a defensive coach and they've got an offensive coordinator. Obviously, they stole the Packers one, so I think that's going to be huge. But overall, I like what they're building. It's going to take time. If they have 4 wins, even if they have 2 wins, I'm not going to be disappointed overall. Obviously, I want them to win, but I want them to win long term, and that's the problem with the Bears. Is I have been a little bit jealous of the Packers because they've had that sustained success. They kind of got lucky, with quarterbacks, and teams don't always kind of get that lucky with quarterbacks. So I just want to see sustained success, and I think they're starting to build it. 2022, if they don't have the wins and losses, I'm okay with that. Let's just move toward seeing our quarterback become the guy.
So we'll kind of get you out here. A couple more questions for you. So what's the deal? What's your feelings on the stadium situation here? It looks like, I've read that they've already bought land outside of Chicago. I've read that they might be putting a dome on Soldier Field, which I think I'm a firm believer in playing games outside when you live in these cold weathers. I get you want to have Super Bowls and things like that, but sometimes some things just are, that weather that you play in and you get those cold weather games. That's, those elements play a factor a lot of times. But what's your feelings there on on that on the stadium situation there in Chicago?
Well, Soldier Field it really has been a dump for a long time, and so it was kind of just a last ditch effort from the mayor to say, well, let's just do this. Well, is they've been decided a long time ago that they're the biggest thing that they want to do is bringing more revenue into the team and just this whole big complex. And I think it's okay. And I'm not I'm from Iowa, so I'm not from Illinois, from Chicago, so I'm not really married to the stadium being right there. I mean, if you have an opportunity to make the franchise better as a whole and the product better as a whole, and be able to put more into the team, the players, I'm all for that. So I think it'll be important that they go ahead with the new stadium, because overall it's going to make the product better and hopefully add to the wins eventually.
And then, so is that? I actually have one more question before we get to your final question here. Is the problem with here, because it seemed like everybody was high on Trubisky, and there? I mean, not really, maybe not everybody, because I think that was a questionable pick from the start. And I actually think he'll be okay in Pittsburgh. You know, with less expectations. Was that a general manager? Is that Paces? Was that Nagy? And then like these, does it start from the top to the bottom? Because I mean, as Cub fans, we feel like it started from the top to the bottom, and then things straightened out when we got Ricketts and Theo and things like that. And now I feel like we're going backwards here as a Cub fan. So where does the organization in this, this non-winning, this non-sustained success, who does that fall on?
Oh, it's definitely the owners. I mean, they didn't know. They were trying to, give football decisions to a money guy in the front office, and then trying to look at other teams. And Ryan Pace, he looked the part, right, and but he just didn't have it, and so then you kind of. Obviously, when you're a leader, you pick people that are similar, and Trubisky, I had a chance to go to the training camp for the Bears, and great guy. I mean, he signed autographs, probably the longest of any of the players, great guy, but that doesn't mean he has it, and you look at a quarterback who, had the 1 year starter, and he just didn't have it, to be a quarterback. And it was interesting, listening to Chicago radio and stuff. There was just there's a lot of things you were finding out about Ryan Pace until afterwards. It was really kind of tight-lipped, and you just finding out, well, no, there's communication issues that Ryan Pace had, and within the building, and very not very direct with people, things like that. And I would think that when you're that successful, you own a franchise, you should be able to interview someone and be like, okay, this guy has it. This is a football guy, and so finally, I think, they've listened to that. So a lot of it's, Ryan Pace and then, choosing, Matt Nagy, and, he was kind of the hot young, assistant from the Chiefs. And, but, once again, you don't have the talent. You don't have, Patrick Mahomes, and that's going to make a difference. I think when you look at it too, with Nagy, very he would just be, kind of married to everything that he thought needed to be done, and not kind of listening. Nope, this is my show. Well, if you're a head coach, you need to let other people kind of, do their thing on offense, defense. And there were just several times that he wanted control the offense, and then he had to basically, fire himself, but because the offense wasn't working. And it's just even talking about last year, going into training camp and not giving Fields any of the first team reps in training camp. I mean, it's right there. I mean, you need to.
Everybody knew that he was better than Andy Dalton. Like
absolutely, yes.
Point, right?
And so Andy Dalton was told he was going to be a starter, and he's upset. It's professional football. You go with the player that's going to be the best player. You just do it. But a lot of it was on coaching and and game plans and just it was just a mess altogether. And I mean, but it really started from the top, and so hopefully now the ownership is kind of letting the general manager and the assistant general manager, that know football, who've been around, and obviously, Ryan Poles, who played with Matt Ryan, the Matt Ryan connection at Boston College, and it's hopefully they'll let him, be the guy and really take this team where it needs to go.
Yeah, it does start with the ownership, and it does, like, everybody. I never heard anybody say anything good about Ryan Pace or Matt Nagy, like, that was in that locker room. Especially Matt Nagy. I don't think he was a players, liked him or was keen to him. And as far as Trubisky, they didn't do him any favors, right? Like, I don't feel like
Mhm.
Nagy did him any favors. I don't feel like those, even if he's not Patty Mahomes, not everybody is Patty Mahomes, but you got to cater your offense to what his strengths are to help your team win. And I don't think that happened for Trubisky, where I think he'll be a little bit better. And I'm not saying he's going to be like number 2 overall pick, like the Bears took him in Pittsburgh, but I think he's going to show to be a somewhat capable quarterback than what we saw in Chicago there, because at times he did look capable in Chicago. So we'll get you out here on this, Andy. I just give me your favorite Bear player all time, one on offense and one on defense. I know that's pretty easy take on offense and pretty a harder take on defense.
Yeah, on offense. Yeah, I mean, you got to go with Walter Payton. I mean, just sweetness. Just looking at the way he ran and just what he meant to Chicago, and still does. So it's got to be Walter Payton on offense, and defense. This one's a little bit more difficult. I love the linebackers. Linebackers, are what the Bears are known for. And could have gone Urlacher. I'm going to go with Peanut Tillman though.
Oh, okay, Charles Peanut Tillman. Okay,
I just
that's an odd one for a Bears defense with all the legends on the Bears defense, and you go with the guy that's probably not even going to be in the Hall of Fame.
No, and I've changed on this one. Yeah, I mean, all those players are great. I just like when you think of a player that really, created, the peanut punch, and what he meant to that defense. I mean, it really is a shame, obviously not from the Packers' perspective, but that you got Brian Urlacher and that defense, all that talent on that defense that they didn't, win the Super Bowl. But you got Peanut Tillman and just kind of what he meant, because really, I mean, that's what that defense is known for, those turnovers. I mean, that was huge.
Yeah, you're right. They are who we thought they were, Andy. That's
exactly.
We got a couple comments real quick, and then we're gonna do our giveaway, and then after our giveaway, I'll let you get all those plugs in for us. So Craig is just saying Brisker and Gordon will turn out to be great picks. Again, Craig's a big Bears fan. Tanner says a great show and great guest. We appreciate you coming on, Andy, and sharing. We've been at it almost an hour and a half here, so good time here. Craig says all time his Bears are Walter Payton and Brian Urlacher. Mm-hmm. And Craig kind of falls under the same mindset I do. Is I like to say my lifetime, and he's got Forte and Peanut, and he said
I like Forte as well. Yeah, it's so
and
smooth. So yeah,
and he's saying Tillman should. He feels like Tillman should be in the Hall of Fame.
So I did get a chance to. I guess I got a chance to interview Rich DeRozier, the Chief Communications Officer at the Pro Football Hall of Fame, and got a chance to meet him as well the other day when we went. And he is a big Bears fan as well, and so he said to say "bear down" anytime I could. And he asked me, so who would you want to interview if it was an all-time Bears, and he's going to try to hook me up. Urlacher would definitely be one of those. Tillman would be a fun one to interview. You think of some of those players that that would just be kind of outspoken. Urlacher is definitely up there. Jay Cutler might be an interesting one too.
Yeah, Smoking Jay.
Yeah,
I didn't like Jay obviously as a Bear, when he's dealing the Packers, but God, I love his retirement plan here. So
smart. Yeah.
Yeah. He's done it all. I would any of those guys. Cedric Benson is one of those guys that I think would be a fun guy to interview. A couple of those. Chris Long, I think he would be a guy who's probably could tell you from his Hall of Fame daddy to his brothers to to playing for the Bears would be a great interview.
Oh, not Chris Long.
What's the Chris is the defensive player. What's the guy?
Yes. I can't even think his first name now. It'll come to me.
Yeah, now he's never going to want to do your podcast, Andy, because you couldn't think of his name. At least I said Chris Long. But anyway,
yeah.
So we're going to do our quick giveaway here because we reached 50 subscribers here on the Bodkin Show. So the winner we got one more comment here. I bet it was Craig probably chiming in and telling me Kyle Long. Thanks,
Kyle
Chris.
Long, yes.
Thanks. Yep, Kyle Long. Yep, I knew that's what the answer is. Anyway, we reached 50 subscribers here on the Bodkin Show, so we're going to do our first ever giveaway. Put all the names in the name generator. We're going to spin the wheel here, and we're going to see who our first is. The first ever Bodkins giveaway. I'm spinning it here. Here we go. Click. Oh, all right. And the winner of the first ever Bodkin shirt, I can't believe this. It's Dan Harris of Let's Talk Sports. I'm super glad actually Dan won this because I was going to send him a shirt anyway, but now I have to too. I wouldn't be here really if without Dan Harris of Let's Talk Sports Community. I don't know if you follow them at all, Andy, but great guy. Has helped promote my stuff through and through. Always just, big helpful. Dan Harris, Dan will be is our first ever winner giveaway. It's almost cheating because the guy's kind of promotes me so much, but perfect guy for it. Yes, absolutely. We'll get Dan his t-shirt. I'll get his address, get that sent to him. Andy, go ahead. I know you're the host of the NFL Outdated, but where can we catch you? Dates, times, and platforms, buddy.
Yeah, I mean, catch me anywhere. Podcasts. I'm kind of trying to branch off into all the other podcast forms, but right now, you can catch me on YouTube. You can catch me Twitter, big one, Instagram, and eventually TikTok here. I think I'm going to go ahead and start that. Got to go TikTok, but NFL Outdated on all those platforms. And, I'm doing reviews, regularly throughout the week. And so, definitely subscribe to get notifications, all different teams, all different. I'm really trying to branch out into some of the different fantasy football platforms as well. IDP is an interesting one. If you know anything about IDP fantasy football, it's interesting. Got to get into that. And Dynasty, all these different platforms I definitely want to learn about and share. If you're interested in being interviewed, I'd love to interview you and promote you as well. I'm all about connections and getting as many podcasters out there as possible. I think we all can help each other, and I love doing that. So,
amen to that, Andy. I know we'll do this again when the Packers and Bears play each other. Whether I'm on NFL Outdated or you're on my show, we'll probably do winner loser comes on the other podcast and make fun of each other. So you'll be on here at least 2 more times because my Packers are going to beat the shit out of the Bears this year, as always. So I appreciate it. Thanks again, everybody. This has been another great episode of the Bodkin Show. It's been a pleasure. Thank you, Andy. Everybody enjoy your start of the week. Tomorrow, have a blessed week, and we'll catch you. I'll be back. Remember, tomorrow on the Sports Buffoons and Bodkins on their network, I'll do the Bodkins Weekly Wrap-Up Show. That'll be happening Wednesday morning, and we'll be back here next Sunday with a whole new guest talking all things sports. This has been another great episode of the Bodkin Show. Thank you.